All right, so a few initiatives and measures announced today in the national budget by Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana. We want to get reaction now from the agricultural industry. The impact of load shedding has hit the farming industry hard, and they have been appealing to government for subsidies and assistance. Well, this is food inflation is held at a 12-year high.
So did today's incentives go far enough? I'm joined by Agri SA CEO Christo van Rheede. Mr. van Rheede, thank you so much for joining us. So from next month, the Minister says, and I'm quoting here, businesses will be able to reduce their taxable income by 125% of the cost of an investment in renewables. What does that mean, and what does that mean for farmers?
In practice, it means if you spend 100,000 rand, then you can claim back 125%. In other words, additional 25,000 rand from your overall taxable income. That for us is a positive move. And I think government has done its, or the Minister of Finance has done his best to motivate the agriculture sector also to become involved in this. And there's huge investments from the agriculture side, but this time around it's being, you can receive a sort of tax incentive. So that not only applies to the business sector, I also see that individuals can claim back up to a maximum of 15,000 rand in terms of tax incentives for installing solar panels on the roofs and so forth.
Yeah. Christo, I mean, one big thing ahead of this budget was this diesel costs that the farming industry had faced. And I mean, we've seen how that filtered through to the prices of food. So no increase on the fuel levy. I mean, that will be a relief. But there's also a further incentive around diesel for food manufacturers. And you were telling me earlier that that space is also finds itself within farmers. So the latter would be a benefit for you as well.
Indeed, many farmers are not just focusing on primary production. They also have slaughterhouses, they've got processing facilities, and they also have storage facilities. So in this regard, it's important that government also take note of the amount of diesel that they require to do processing. And that in itself is a very good move by government to expand the diesel rebate. It's something that the agriculture sector has called for, and we're glad that government has heard our voice.
One of the things that's been spoken about for months now, and this is obviously would have been wonderful news for consumers, but also really wonderful for poultry farmers. There was no mention of a zero rating of VAT on chicken. How's that going to impact the sector?
Yeah, it obviously it would have brought huge relief to your consumers out there, and it's a pity that government did not, or Treasury did not see its way to consider that. And your big challenge obviously remains the affordability of food. We've seen a massive spike in terms of food prices due to load shedding and other international factors. And we're going to see bigger problems going forward, given the heavy rainfalls that we've received. That's certainly going to have an impact on areas where you produce vegetables of all sorts and so forth. Yes, I think that is a big concern, the affordability of food and people's access to food.
Let me just stay on that point very quickly as we fight against time, Christo. I mean, ahead of this budget, we saw food inflation the highest it was since 2009. Power cuts were there, you've got costless farmers. Does this budget, through all its measures, go any way to actually relieving food prices, at least in the short to medium term?
No, not at all. I don't think that will happen. But on the positive side of the budget, there's huge investment in trying to create a conducive environment for the business sector. So the agriculture sector will certainly benefit from the investments in dams. We've seen huge investment in water schemes in the Eastern Cape and the Western Cape and some of the other provinces. We also see huge investment in the upgrading of road infrastructure, also other types of infrastructure. And then obviously our biggest gripe, the biggest challenge that we faced over the past few months was the issue of load shedding. And I think government Treasury has tried to find a solution for that as well. And we just hope it will help Eskom to mitigate or overcome the challenge of your big power stations breaking down and not being able to supply a steady supply of electricity to the country.
All right, so we'll leave it there. Well, thanks very much. Agri SA CEO Christo van der Rheede there giving his reaction from an agricultural perspective on that budget, Sally.
Yeah.